Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webcast for this week. We have a very special guest, Vynlyf, and we are going to talk about wine, which everyone loves. This is a Valentine's Day edition, hence the weird headgear, but we want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day in advance, and we want to make sure that everybody is well prepared for Valentine's Day, and what better way to do that than with wine? So if you are new to our webcast, hello and welcome. If you are a returning guest, welcome back. So you would know me by now if you are a returning guest. But my name is Tamara, for those of you who may not know me, and I am Shuup's Growth and People Manager. And today we're actually joined by Damian, who is the Vynlyf founder and CEO. Damian, did you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Damian. I founded Vynlyf a couple of years ago, in my mind at least. And basically, I have been working in the wine industry for about 7 years now, in various capacities. And just about 2 years ago, I started Vynlyf and helping small wineries sell more wine online.
Awesome. I myself love wine. I know we talked about this beforehand, but for those of you who don't know, I come from a very rich area where wineries are everybody's summer is at the winery. So this was very exciting for me to partner with you on this, to do this webcast. So thank you so much for agreeing and coming on and for being with us today. I know we touched a little bit about wine and Vynlyf, but if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what Vynlyf is and maybe like some of the mission statement behind it and things like that.
Yeah, so what Vynlyf is an online marketplace, hence why we're working with Shuup, for small wineries to sell more wine directly to customers, directly to consumers across the United States. Not only is it a place for small wineries to sell, but it's also a place for the more curious wine drinker to explore at their leisure and at their particular interest, so that they can feel more connected to their decisions. They can buy based on their interests, their values, what they like, but also start to get into the stories of the people behind the wine. So it's really about taking out the middleman, not just in the logistics process of having the winery shipped directly to the consumer, but also taking out the middleman in that story. Instead of it being sort of this broken telephone of the winery talking to a distributor who talks to a sales rep who talks to a sommelier who then finally tells you the story. It's really, straight from the winery, straight from the people who are living this life, who have this great passion for the things that they produce, that we only get to enjoy for 5 minutes, but when it's done right, the memories stay with us for a lifetime. So that's where all of the passion for Vynlyf came through.
Yeah, personally, I love speaking with owners of small businesses, and even I have friends that do like just online, like through Etsy and stuff, and there is no better way, for somebody to share their passion than to be doing it themselves. And I know a lot of businesses, I had one friend who has a small business and they kind of went rather large in their business. One of the hardest things for her was having to give over some of that control. And she said it was hard because you have to do it in order to grow your business sometimes, but it's like that piece of like, she wanted to be a part of every process and make it personal and show her passion through it was really something hard for her. And so especially with wine, we were talking before and you were talking about how personal and intimate this type like wine is, and I think it's really great what you guys are doing. I kind of would love to hear a little bit maybe about like the history as far as Vynlyf goes, and maybe like where the idea came from, those starting actions. And I know we spoke a little bit about some of like the passion behind it, but maybe some of the inspiration for yourself and where that kind of came from.
Yeah, so I can take you way back to the inspiration behind me working in the wine business. And straight away, when I knew that I wanted to work in the wine business, I knew that I wanted to sort of do my own thing. I immediately felt like the business itself was was very traditional in a lot of regards. But one day I was sort of sitting at my home in South Africa. I was visiting my mother. The last day I was there, I said to my mom, I've been working in a tech startup, in a market research startup, which is as exciting as it sounds.
Yes.
And I was sitting there saying to her, like, I'm not entirely happy. Like, I love startups and I love technology and I love, you know, the innovation that we provide, but something's missing. Like, I feel like my passion isn't really there. And she said, well, my son, like, tell me, what do you want in life? What do you enjoy? What do you like? And I said, do you know what, Mom? I really love drinking. And she bowed her head and was like, oh dear God. But she knew because my father worked in the alcohol industry for 35 years. She knew that there was a little bit more to that. And she asked, like, okay, well, explain why. And I said, it's not, you know, I don't drink to woohoo, get drunk. You know, I don't drink to lose my mind or whatnot. I find that a good beer, a good cocktail, and to me, more so than others, a great wine has this power to really lift your soul. You know, there's a beauty behind it. There's an art to it. And like I said before, you know, there are people around the world who spend their entire lives dedicated to this. You know, generations upon generations of people, long family histories and lines, who dedicate themselves to making a product that we will enjoy for all of 5 minutes. Yeah. 10 minutes if we're lucky. And yet, you know, that memory, you know, you can think back to a great glass of wine that you had. You know, I can always tell you about some of the best wines that I've had, and the moments and the occasions that I've had them in. So that really inspired me to be a part of the wine industry. And then, like I said, I you know, started off trying to find my way into the business, worked at wine shops, really started again from the ground up, worked my way up steadily in the retail side. And I realized, as we did a lot of tastings and invited winemakers into our stores, that we're bringing these people, you know, across the country, across the world, to talk to people about their wine. And, you know, this is the way for the winemaker to, like, get in front of people, you know. And all of this is an attempt for you, the wine lover, to hopefully, maybe, possibly one day go to the winery itself, which is where wineries make a much bigger part of their income. And I feel like this is crazy. This is broken. You know, I was hearing stories from salespeople, from distributors, and then I would go online and, you know, explore the winemaker's website and hear them tell the story about themselves. I'm like, this is completely different. This isn't at all. Actually, you've confused this winemaker's story with this winemaker's story. And I found myself being guilty of that a lot. So I was like, okay, this whole system is broken. You know, not only is distribution, you know, the sort of classic 3-tier distribution model, horrifically inefficient from a logistics standpoint, that wine has to travel from warehouse to retail store to finally get to us. But, you know, the communication side is also horrifically inefficient as well. And it would be, you know, much to the benefit of wineries if they had a place where, you know, they could all come together. And this is kind of where I started thinking, you know, I had originally been thinking of this as sort of a platform, or maybe this is just a communication tool, a marketing, and someone said, it sounds like a marketplace. And I thought, and a light bulb went off, and I was like, absolutely, this is a marketplace, because not only is it a place for you to market yourself, to tell your story, but it's also a place for you to, you know, to sell the wine. I often think of Vynlyf as, you know, not an online marketplace, but more similar to a farmer's market.
Right.
That we're bringing people all together under, you know, under one big tent, and you know what you're going to get when you walk into the tent. You're going to get a lot of people from different places with different backgrounds, selling you different things with, you know, lots of crazy stories to tell. And at the end of the day, you're just going to have fun with it. And a lot of the occasions, the people who are on Vynlyf are actually farmers.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's a really cool like perspective to, you know, to think about it. That's, you know, how the inspiration sort of came together.
Yeah, that's amazing. I definitely agree. There's, you know, with everything you were saying, especially, but specifically thinking about it in terms of a farmer's market is really interesting to me, because pre-pandemic, I would go to the farmers markets, you know, in a town over from me, and you build relationships with the people who are selling their products, and you hear their stories firsthand. And so to be able to do this digitally with wine is something I think that is really, really awesome, and you know, and very personal. And for me, I'm, again, big fan of wine. We have like a ritual with my friends where we do a Wednesday wine night, and, you know, we do it virtually or we'll do it together, and we're enjoying that wine for maybe 5 minutes. I think that's a little too long and down the glasses, but, you know, we're talking over stories and enjoying it. And some of the best memories we can think of are those wine nights. So I think it's really interesting that you brought that up for sure. And now, so this idea actually transitioning into the marketplace. So let's talk about the Vynlyf's transition into e-commerce. I know we spoke about the preparation a little bit just now, but what about like how, like the planning for you? Like, how did that go? I know, you know, there's a lot that goes into actually creating a marketplace and then getting it, you know, off the ground. And then I was also curious if you wanted to speak about, you know, why Shuup for an e-commerce marketplace.
Yeah. So a lot of the preparation, I think I am very, very fortunate that my background, you know, I'd done international business and did an MBA, which is how I ended up in the United States, which, you know, gave me that background, that business strategy building background. And I'm also very fortunate that, you know, I have a father who's actually a genius at corporate strategy. And we worked together, I think, for the longest time. You know, I would be bouncing ideas off of him, and he would say to me, well, go and find this number. Go and find this piece of information, get it to me, and make sure that you have, you know, you have a business. And it took, you know, through the whole time that I was working in the wine industry, and the ideas started to build and start to get together. It was about after 3 years when my dad finally said, now you've got it. Now you've got the idea, the marketplace. But what is the marketplace? What is the addressable, you know, very traditional, you know, startup and, you know, route to market strategy, those kinds of things. What is the addressable market size? Who are you marketing to? All of these things, you know, you have to research. And I did it from a very qualitative and quantitative perspective, reading a lot of industry reports on the wine industry, very specific industry reports, like the direct-to-consumer portion of the wine industry that were coming out of different industry backgrounds. I think Silicon Valley Bank has a fantastic wine report that comes out every year, and that was every year that it came out, that was my bedside reading for an entire year. It's a 70-page report, and I'm constantly flipping through it and like, oh, what does this number mean? And how do I look at this number combined with this number, and how are things changing? What are the trends? You know, you constantly have to be like reading, thinking about it outside. But then at the same time, I was working in a wine retail store. I was working in a fancy wine shop in Boston, 2 of them, in fact. And I was having interactions on a daily basis with people who were telling me about wine, about how they approached wine. Not about how wine approached them, but how they spoke about wine in their terms. You know, so that started making me think about, okay, well, it's not just about selling wine, it's about connecting with people. So these are sort of the things that came together and started building these little cornerstones of what would be the Vynlyf business model. To design that business model was, a massive challenge. I enlisted the help of a really good friend who I worked with at a design company, and we really approached the business model from a design perspective, so that we could be constantly iterating and changing as we learn more about the industry, because that's what I've learned very, very quickly, is that the industry is very nuanced and very particular, and you can't come onto this saying, it's like, oh, we're the Etsy for wine, we're the Airbnb of wine.
Yeah.
Well, you're just going to get stuck, because the moment that someone has a different approach or different shipping structure, then you're in trouble. You lose so many people because people don't fit into the box that you're trying to get them into. So this is sort of how we've sort of started to foresee things happening, and it's still, we know that these things are going to happen, and every time that it happens, I'm not surprised that it happens, but I'm surprised at what the nuance is, which is really exciting. You're sort of, I never thought about that before, but I know that there are going to be pieces that I've never thought about before.
Right.
But I've designed it and planned it and prepared for it in a way that I can tailor my, my whole business model, my route to market strategy, my vendor strategy, my marketing strategy, all of it based on how we approached our learning in the beginning.
Right.
And I guess that kind of leads to the decision of why Shuup. And from the moment that I thought it was a marketplace, or knew it was a marketplace, we had spoken, myself and my dad, about how do we build it. And I tried building it myself to try and get version 1 off the ground. I was sketching things in notebooks, creating wireframes, creating business models before work every day. I would go to work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and between the hours of 6 a.m. and 1 o'clock, I was at my notebook scribbling and researching and reading, and then scribbling more ideas. And then finally, after talking to a whole group of people, how to build a marketplace, I realized very quickly, like, I can't really do this by myself. I need people who know how to develop a marketplace, but I also need to implement this really, really quickly, and I need something that is going to have a lot of flexibility for me to create and build around those nuances.
Yeah, I think that my background is in IO psychology, so it's business psychology, and one of the things that every single class of mine talked about, and in my own opinion, is basically the key to any successful business is you have to be able to adapt with the times and with changing factors. And if you don't plan for those things in the beginning, you're going to end up stuck or spending a lot of time and money reworking those strategies. So I think 100%, like, kudos to you for waking up at 6 a.m. and really working on your dream. Essentially, this is like your baby, and doing those things, because it's definitely, I mean, I'm sure you'll tell us later on, but it's a payoff in and of itself to put the time into plan and foresee. And like what you were saying with Shuup as well, that's one of the things that we do pride ourselves on, being able to customize and do things in a shorter period of time than maybe some of the other platforms that our competitors. So thank you for that. We do appreciate the notice of it. It's really great. On that topic, actually, I know, so why Shuup? That's, I'm very excited that you picked us, but now can we talk about, our our relationship together, Vynlyf and Shuup, and what it's been like working with our team, and the kind of the whole process, the pre-launch. And I know you guys are in a soft launch at the moment, so as far as post-launch business, we can talk about maybe like some aspirations. But if you wanted to give us an inside scoop on working together, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, a couple of slightly rocky moments have led to actually us being able to create, the base camps for big mountain climbing, and being able to climb this huge mountain. What's been great is, Shuup's expertise, not just from a technical perspective, but actually from, a relationship perspective, has been, the ability to sort of bounce ideas back and forward with us. And so, like, we're thinking about an item, or we need to sort of thinking about a feature or something that is not, out of the box, and, immediately bouncing it back and forth and saying, like, well, is that possible? Is there a workaround? Is there a way we can do it? Do we have to customize it? Do we not have to customize it? Do we, develop it? Do we not develop it? Or just saying, like, oh, that's easy. Check this box, and boom, it's on. There's always like the right answer. And sometimes, we as clients can be very, because this is our baby. Like, this is very much like something that we're very, very passionate about. And we see something that, we're like, oh my God, this is totally broken. What happened, guys? Screaming and shouting, and what's been amazing is, some of you and your colleagues are like, hey, it's cool. Don't worry, we got it. We've got it. We can fix it in an hour. Or it's like, oh, did you guys remember to do that part? Did you remember to hit the save button twice? Like you were supposed to? Like we taught you? And it's like, oh, whoops. So, there's been a lot of, a lot of back and forth. I think, playing with the QA site and breaking it and fixing it and breaking it and fixing it, allowed us to sort of like get into the production site that, we break it and fix it and break it and fix it all the time, but we're so much better at breaking and fixing things. I think at the same time, like, like I said, our industry is so very nuanced, and we're constantly having, clients who come on with something different, something interesting. Like, oh, we have, some vendors who, pack the boxes all themselves. They have someone in there, maybe it's even the winemaker who is actually like, oh, I just got an order, pull out a box, put the wines in, tape it up, send it to UPS, and away it goes. Other vendors are like, oh, we have a warehouse, so we need to send them in, we need to send that information to the warehouse and they'll do it. To other people, it's like, oh, well, we have a warehouse, but it's a private warehouse, and we have 5 other wineries who use it, and we better make this work, because if you make this work, we'll bring all of those 5 wineries on. And it's like, the pressure. Yeah. But what's been fascinating is, like, with all those nuances, we've been able to, to talk about them and create really awesome and exciting features that, really make sense to our industry. I talk to a lot of people about, like, well, is it just an Etsy for wine? Is it just an Airbnb for wine? I'm like, well, if you want to be super simplistic about it, yeah, it is. But our approach is that it's not just, where other marketplaces for wine have failed in the past, is that they took the solution and tried to superimpose it on the business, and not look at the business, which is an old, ancient business, and tailor it to the needs that the industry has, the needs and the challenges that they have that are preventing this ancient business from moving itself forward into the future. And that's at the heart of everything that Vynlyf has been about. We're about taking this old, traditional business that has existed far, far longer than any of us had. You know, the Romans used to march on wine. You know, I think there are articles about, you know, wine predating some of the grandest, you know, early civilizations. You know, civilization existed, you know, was created so that people could sit around and get drunk and not feel like they're going to be stumbling over and hunted down by wild animals. Well, let's build walls to protect our booze.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to take Vynlyf with that sort of approach. We are helping businesses, you know, take a step forward into the future, you know, into the now and into the future. And what's kind of been cool is, you know, and we've kind of spoken about this before, you know, working with Shuup has been sort of like building a house versus buying a condo. You know, when you buy a condo, whether you're in like you know, you could be in, you know, a massive tower, and you're sort of restricted by, you know, by the four walls that you're in. You can paint the inside whatever color you want, and you can change the colors, and, you know, you can move the cabinets around maybe, but that's about it. You know, with Shuup, it's been about building a house, and Shuup has said, like, well, here's a house. Yeah, here's the house that we built for you. And then we said, okay, great. We need a front porch. We need a back porch. We need to build a new wing. I need a 2-car garage. I need this. I need this. I need this. And we can slowly, you know, build that out to, you know, where it's, you know, gone from a house, you know, to a mansion. And that's sort of the exciting part of where Vynlyf's relationship with Shuup is taking us.
Yeah, I right before this call, we did talk about that, and I have to let everyone on this webcast know, like, I've never heard that analogy. Like, that is not something Shuup's like talked about. I think that is the perfect analogy. I actually wrote it down for us for future, but it's exactly what we're about. And to hear from you and, you know, from your team, of course, that this is something that you see actually being implemented, and you feel the ability to customize and really expand your business. Because right now, you know, you're starting your business, and it's on a scale that's, you know, smaller than in 30 years, let's say. You know, you may have this gigantic business, and you know you have the ability to support that, which is really awesome. So I love to hear that. That's really great. I do want to ask about like the pandemic, because I know we did speak a little bit about it. How has it affected your business model or your plan, and do you foresee it helping or hurting, or what has it done for your post-launch business, like aspirations, I guess? Has it made a difference at all?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I can look at that from both an industry trend and from a trend that we're seeing immediately with the vendors who we work with and who we speak to. And literally every single vendor who we've spoken to, every potential vendor, looking at us, coming to us and saying, yeah, this is actually something that we need. And the reason being, you know, the pandemic really hit the wine industry hard. A lot of wineries sort of face this perspective of, you know, with restaurants closing all over the country, all over the world, for a long, long time, they saw, you know, half of their sales sort of become obliterated overnight. And fortunately, you know, they've had this direct-to-consumer channel, you know, where they're selling wine to people, you know, on their own websites. And this is something people ask me all the time. It's like, well, why don't I just go to the winery's website to buy from them? And I said, well, the challenge for the winery is, you know, a lot of wineries have seen that direct-to-consumer channel explode. over the last year, and it's saved them because it's a higher margin for them. But the challenge is, okay, great. Those people who are coming to your website are the people who know you.
Right.
They know how to look for you. They know where to find you. They know who you are. And that's because they tasted you at a restaurant a year ago. That's because they've experienced tasting with you at a retail store, or they were visiting Oregon or California and they stumbled across you when they were Googling places to visit. And now that channel, the greatest effect of that channel of marketing all of these small businesses has gone. And a lot of that distribution channel, at the same time as, it kind of having a sort of negative effect, a lot of distributors have just amped up their sales to retail stores, the regular like mom and pop wine shops and liquor stores that exist all over the country, because the restaurant business is sort of dried up. A lot of cash is dried up, and the distributors themselves. I had one vendor speak to me a while back when I was creating this business, and I think this is where I realized that everything had to amp up really quickly. Was someone said to me, he's like, yeah, we're going, we have a distributor we've been working with for 5 years, and they are saying to us, we're very happy, like we want to take on your new stock, but we can't offer you terms of net 30. We need to do terms of net 90 or net 180. And one crazy one was even like net 360. I'm saying, like, you're going to give them your wine today and expect to get paid back in a year with no interest. So you're losing money. Like, that money's out the door. You've lost money due to interest. It's basically gone for you. Yeah. And they couldn't work with that. They're reliant, wine is such a thing that it is such a specific thing. Like, it only gets released once or twice a year. You pick the grapes once a year. You bottle them maybe for a cup, maybe for 1 year, maybe for 2 years, maybe for 5, 6, or 10 or 12. But that's it. Like, you only get one chance every year to like make the wine. And then you've got it and you need to sell it. So it's a really, really big challenge. And how do you sell that over the course of a year so that by the time that next vintage comes around, what you haven't sold is lost product, basically.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, like, put a lot of impetus on us to say, like, well, let's get out there. And we're talking to the wineries and saying, like, we're not eating your direct-to-consumer channel. We're not challenging it. We're not taking it over. What we're doing is those losses, those pain points in your distribution channel, we're going to make that a lot easier. We're going to do the work to put you out there into the world. We're going to create the audience. We're going to create this big, amazing group of people who are just excited about wine and very interested in exploring. And we're going to come up with we're going to basically, with the information that you give us, come up with all of these different ways that they can find you, right, based on how they look for wine. And some of them you'll know, and some of them you might not even realize. Yeah. And that is how, we're going to help you sort of like pandemic proof, not just today, but next year and the year after, because there's no, I think that there's a lot of people wishing and waiting and hoping that we'll go back. But if we look at how many restaurants have closed, if we look at how many small distributors have closed, and how much big wine, I know the real top winemaking companies in the world have consolidated in the last year. It's a huge threat to the small guy. And we're just like, all right, the biggest way that we can pack a punch is if we group together and get everybody,
One
really
big community.
in that same group. That's how we're going to do it. So long-winded response. So like, has the pandemic affected us? Oh, you betcha.
Yeah.
It's affected our vendors, most importantly, and their desire to look for something different, which is a huge positive for us. But we also have to accept that, it's a massive challenge that we are taking on behalf of the wineries.
Yeah. No, the pandemic, that's so great to hear that there's some positives from the pandemic and its effects. Especially, what you guys are doing is amazing, of course. But I feel that a lot of people, like you said, believe that, or are wishing and hoping that our normal is going to come back soon. But the reality is we're going to have to live in a new normal. And it may look similar to the old normal, but there's long lasting effects, medically speaking, obviously, but as well as, in our like economic society, our like societal and cultural effects and things of that nature. So I do, 100%. It's good to hear though that you guys are thinking ahead of that, and Vynlyf is ready and is able to help with the changing of our world.
Yeah. One of the things I'm really excited about that kind of shows that we're sort of changing and looking at societal factors in a different way is, we very recently, just 2 days ago, started working with a winery that sells canned wine, and canned wine has been like up, in the news for a long time. Going back even 10 years as being this like new and exciting thing. But sort of why we're very excited to launch it, or to work with this canned wine company is like, to me, it is totally the right product at the right time, for a lot of people who, aren't able to like buy a bottle of wine to share with friends, but like, where are your friends? Stuck at home. There are all of these challenges, and it's sort of like, well, here's a way for you to like have this moment back,
Right.
that you can actually, enjoy, and not feel so guilty about like having one glass and then throwing away the rest of the bottle kind of thing. So there's all sorts of like different things, and like I said, like, we're really excited that we can tailor our approach to be able to work with companies like that.
Yeah, I canned wines, I love them. So that's definitely, I think right place, right time is definitely key for that. I do have a question regarding like advice that you would have for somebody who maybe, has an idea just like you did and wants to start an e-commerce marketplace. Could you offer maybe a small piece of advice for them, and maybe why like Shuup would be a good a fit for them as well, I guess?
Yeah, and I think, starting e-commerce marketplaces, I'll echo a piece of advice that was actually given to me recently is, don't be afraid to iterate and to be flexible about your business model, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is to be finding the way that you can bring the most value in for yourself, in a way that is going to amplify the value of your customers. How can you make money while constantly being able to grow the business of your customers, of your vendors. When your vendors are making money, they're happy, they're going to stay, they're going to be on there. So, feel free to be iterating and thinking about what that business model is, what that plan is, and do your research. You know, there, for any industry that you're working in, there are industry reports, there are blogs where, you know, sometimes even someone's kind of rant about a specific part of the business will give you an idea. One of the things that sparked my interest or my vision to create Vynlyf and to choose the consumer target market, and to realize what my consumer target market was an article in the Los Angeles Times from 5 years ago. Yeah. And when I kept bringing this up to like people in the industry, I would like kind of refer to the article sometimes about like some of the challenges that we face, and they're like, and they would just look at me and go, "Oh yeah, that is really challenging. You know, that is super challenging. I'm not going to do anything about it." That's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
But those are the things that, you know, spark ideas that, you know, really look at it and say, there's the spark of the idea, and then everything else is just like pouring gasoline onto that fire, you know, and you never know where it's going to take it. Fuel to that flame is very, very important, and research and reading is the most important fuel to any e-commerce plan. In terms of working with Shuup, things have been fantastic. I think one of the most important parts of like working with Shuup is to again, it's iteration. You know, have an idea of what you want your MVP to be, what you want it to look like, how you want it to feel like, how you want it to work, and don't be afraid to bounce those ideas back on the Shuup team of like, well, what do you guys think is, you know, does this make sense? Does that make sense? Because sometimes I think even the things that, you know, were part of our MVP, you know, ended up having to be something that we didn't take in version 1, that we had to do in like version 1.1 or 1.2. Like one of my favorite features right now, I think, you know, we've spoken about it offline a lot about, I think one of the most fantastic features that we've built with Shuup has been the, you know, the ability to protect our wineries from selling wine to states where they're not legally allowed to ship to, and building that feature out, that sort of protection for the vendors has been fantastic. So, you know.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
No, that's been my experience of, and my advice to anybody out there looking to build an e-commerce marketplace and working with Shuup.
Thank you. We again appreciate, you know, when we hear that a customer is seeing what what we take pride in, and customization is so important for so many reasons, but especially what you said. I mean, you know, the feature that is helping you, you know, stay within your legal, you know, lane essentially is really important, and it saves you and your wineries and vendors. Not wineries, vendors and wine, you know, lovers, like from having these like legal issues, and it's just something so, you know, it may be overlooked at first, but then you're like, okay, well, we need this, like, can we do it? And the answer is always going to be yes. So thank you for the advice, 100%. Yeah. But I think now
I would say, like, not even just legal issues, but legal issues is a big part, but, you know, the consumer experience and the vendor experience, that is, it's such a simple little thing, but just saying, you know, just being able to say like, hey, we're really sorry, like, you live in Pennsylvania and sadly this winery doesn't ship to Pennsylvania, is, you know, not the best experience anybody wants to face, but it prevents such a painful consumer and vendor experience from happening in the future, you know.
as well, yeah.
And it's like I said, those nuances and being able to design around those, you know, we don't really realize how much they're saving us from having horrible, like, painful consumer experiences.
Yeah.
in the future. So, to put the UX, mindset behind that, it's like, it's such a little thing. It's just saying like, we're sorry, or like, unfortunately, you can't do that. But, it's both affected our consumer experience. It's helped our wineries go like, oh yes, now I like, the conversion rate for our wineries is now so much higher because
Business, yeah.
that little feature.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The user experience is everything too. So I think that being said as well, we would love to be able to take a look maybe inside of, Vynlyf and what it is. If you wanted to go ahead and walk us through some of maybe your favorite parts of the site and whatnot, we can go ahead and do that. I'll stop
Absolutely.
sharing and allow you to go ahead and share with us.
Absolutely. So I would like to say, everybody, welcome to Vynlyf. Let me start at the top. A lot of what I talked about, having that ability to explore and look at things in your way kind of exists in this header up here, and that wines, the methods, the character, oops, I clicked on the wines page, but it's all of those aspects that people think about and talk about in wine. I find that everybody approaches wine in a slightly different way, and yet we have very rigid structural language about it. A lot of our design has been about changing that structure and changing that language. Just go back to the homepage. So, immediately we talk about, wines in ways that are more understandable to people. If you, are looking for a specific way that a wine is made that really speaks to you, a certain character, people often used to come into stores like, I'm looking for something that is very kind of crisp and kind of funky. And, I had to take those two terms, to myself and like say, okay, what do I do with that? What wines do I know that are crisp and funky? But what we found is our vendors are like very open to like describing, things in these, more broad terms. And then they like to be more nuanced in their descriptions as well. So we both had this as a category, but then there's also an attribute that sort of mirrors some of those things, so like crisp. But when you dig down into the wine, you'll see like, oh, it's citrusy and it's flinty, and so what that allows us to do is it speaks to all sorts of wine lovers, whether you're that sort of person who's kind of just getting into wine and you're kind of interested, all the way down to like, oh, I'm really into biodynamic Sauvignon Blanc. Great. We can take you down that rabbit hole if you want to go down there, which is really fascinating and fun to us, So maybe I love Pinot Noir from California. I'm really obsessed with Pinot Noir from Oregon. We can go down that road. We can go down there, but then we can also introduce you to other wines from Oregon. What's big to us is, having new wines to discover. We love talking about all the new wines that are available. Ricci Vineyards just came online with us. We're super, super excited because it's a vineyard that have been growing grapes for a lot of people for years. And then we have such amazing grapes. Like, why don't we just make it ourselves? And this is fantastic. It was a friend of our winery growth director, who actually knew someone from Ricci, I believe. And, we're super excited because, you've got this rosé of Pinot Noir, but then you've also got this, the Three Lions, and we get really nerdy about the clonal varieties of Pinot Noir. Not just that it's Pinot Noir, but the clones. Like, we can get super geeky about, where the original clippings came from to grow that vineyard. It's crazy, but we can do that. We have new wineries to explore. We love listing, let's not just talk about the wine, but let's talk about the people. We love to like highlight them and just say like, these people are new protector sellers who are the guys who do canned wine. We're super excited because all their shipping is carbon neutral. Everybody's had something interesting to Marisi, has been one of our biggest advocates, and absolutely love and adore her wines, and Kibblestad, who have been, they make just absolutely incredible. One of the most exciting winemakers in the country, a guy by the name of Sam Barron. I think Kibblestad is gonna like be a big thing for us, but like they're just gonna be amazing. Like if anybody's listening out there and like actually wants my pick for like, okay, I'm buying wine for the first time, like any of these people here are fantastic. And I think, I definitely want to big up like Sam Barron as being, he was part of this class at UC Davis who like totally changing the face of wine in California. So it's really exciting for us to have all of these people on for all sorts of different reasons. And then we like to highlight different wineries. Immediately here, we're like telling the story about someone here. And then just a little bit about, who we are. It's your way. We work with boutique wineries. And, for us, it's not just that you're small, it's that you're really passionate about your craft. So, that's kind of a lot of where we are now. I think where we're going with a lot of this is, being able to curate all of these discoveries, because very soon, I think right now there's 6 wineries and there's about 30 wines available. But pretty soon that becomes, 20 wineries and 200-300 wines available. And then it's something that's a little more challenging to navigate. So, what we've also built with Shuup are ways for us to very quickly curate those things based on, what we like. It's like, I really like this particular type of wine, and I love that it's done in this way. One click, 2 click, and you can bring a whole list of wines that are done in that same way. So it's super fun. It's super, fantastic. And, this is just version 1. We're currently working on like a whole new design that I think, will help to give our vendors each a louder voice. That we're really, really excited about and very excited to implement in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think first of all, the look of your site is amazing. It's one of my favorites. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but it is. I definitely think, being able to find exactly what I want when it comes to wine especially is super, super important from a customer perspective. And then I really love, it's the first time I actually saw this, that you highlight your, a winery or a vendor. And I think that's really great, because then, if those are always changing and I come back to the site every time, it's basically a new experience for me to say, okay, well, this one's highlighted this month or week or whatever the cadence is, and I can look at it and go, oh, I haven't tried them yet. Let's see if they have what I like. And I think that's super, super amazing. I do want to ask, I know we're running a little low on time, so I want to get to the questions. We do have one question from a attendee. So the first part of the question was, what was your favorite wine from your marketplace? But I think you did answer that a little bit. And the second part of it was, will you have any types of package wine? I'm not sure what that means. I would assume, for me at least, because this is part of a question I actually almost had, I guess, when gifting wine, for instance, do you find that vendors or wines or wineries are posted individually, or are there sometimes like variety packs, I guess, that you could say, where I could try maybe several different bottles of wine in like one type of product? Maybe that's what they mean. If you're still here, go ahead and clarify for me if that's wrong for the attendee, but I guess we can answer that question for now.
Yeah. So in terms of like what my favorite wine, I think my favorite wine changes like every single time. And there's wines that I'm very excited about that I haven't tried yet. Kibblestad actually just sent me They're Carignan. And the people who know me and people who work with me and and the vendors as well know that I am, for some reason, obsessed about California Carignan. And it's this obscure grape. It's not really obscure, but it's sort of having this renaissance where it was treated as a very like low quality, very bad, used in jug wine. And then all of a sudden, there's this new class of California winemakers who are able to do amazing stuff with it. And like Sam is one of them, and I think we have one other on our website, where Carignan is just this amazing, super delicious, really complex wine that kind of seems to like pair with everything. It's very great with like dinners, but it's also like really awesome and fun and crushable if you're just like having friends over and you're just like, let's sit and have share a glass of wine. Wine geeks and wine nerds love it when I introduce them to it, and friends who are kind of getting into wine, when I share it with them, they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I could go on for hours about it, about how the old vines, the vines that are producing these amazing wines are like 60, 70, 80 years old, and old vines make great wines. The berries and the clusters are a lot smaller, and you get less berries per cluster, which gives you a much more intense flavor. So it's gone from like cheap wine to like super, intense, but very well structured and balanced and crushable at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like the quintessential modern wine. That's one of my favorites, and I'm constantly looking for new wines. Anytime a winery comes on board and they launch a Carignan, I'm like, yep, send it. I'll open my wallet for that one. I'll buy it myself. I don't even care. Not even going to ask for marketing. Not even going to ask you guys. I'm just going to buy it myself. I don't care. And in terms of like packaged wine, absolutely yes. We do have one at the moment from one of our favorite wineries, Teutonic. Side note, they're a fantastic husband-wife team out of Portland, Oregon. They have a really cool little space. Barnaby Tuttle, who's the winemaker, he plays jazz while he's stomping on the grapes. He plays like a giant tuba. He loves having musicians over to play while they're making wine or after they're making wine. He made wine with a local metal band a couple years ago.
Cool.
And because the drummer was always like hanging around his little tasting room. But they have a really interesting little vineyard I think it's called Crow Valley. And they have a little package that has like Crow Valley Pinot Noir and Riesling and Gewürztraminer that you can buy together. And what's cool is, the moment that they put on this like 3-pack of like wine, it immediately went to me, like, yes, absolutely, this is what we should do. This is a great way for people to be introduced to a winery. If the winery says like, you want an introduction to us, this is what it's like. But at the same time, like if you want, something, if you're really into something, or if you're geeking out about something, if you really geek out about vintages, we're working with some of our vendors to like have called verticals. So it's different vintages of the same wine that you can, bring home and taste and drink, differently. And then also having those same wines, together. One thing I've said, a million times over is we're never going to be a wine club.
Right.
We're never just going to like package it and send it, because I think that whole business model is beyond tired from a third party perspective. Like wineries, great wine clubs, third parties, terrible wine clubs. But what I think is cool is, we can work with the different vendors to create these different packs at different times, both from a gifting perspective. So like someone's really obsessed about Pinot Noir, we can, find a fantastic winery who makes fantastic Pinot Noir, put like a Pinot Noir lovers gift pack. But at the same time, it's like, there's all of these different approaches, like introductions, gifts, geeking out, you know, prepare for summer, you know, buy a 12 pack of rosé. Those kinds of things are really, you know, exciting. Like, we couldn't have done them without Shuup. We couldn't have done them if we didn't have this ability to create those packs with Shuup. Like Protector Cellars, who does the canned wine, I think they have like a mixed pack. So if you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to try the red or the white or the rosé, it's like, great, buy a pack that has all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that was your question, if we have these sort of packages, then absolutely. And it's one of the most exciting parts of our website that is super small right now, but is something that we're super excited to bring to the forefront for a lot of people in the next few months.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that was their question because they did not follow up, so hopefully so. But we don't have any more questions at the moment. I do want to remind everyone who's watching, either live now or later in the watching it on our website as a replay, to just email us if you have any questions. And Damian and Shuup are we're constantly communicating. So if there's a question for Damian or Vynlyf, we are more than happy to pass that along and get that answer to you. It would be at contact@shuup.com. Damian, I'm going to thank you for joining us today and speaking about Vynlyf and Shuup, of course, and all the wonderful things you've said. And again, this is amazing for me as, a host, I guess, to listen to the story behind it, because we work together every day, essentially, and to hear the background of it is always really special. So I wanted to thank you for joining us and sharing with us. And I wanted to wish everybody again a happy Valentine's Day, Damian, and your team happy Valentine's Day, and hope everyone stays safe and yeah.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to everybody who's watching and will watch in the future. Thank you, Tamara, for having me. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about ourselves and to talk about our experiences. And it's been my absolute pleasure. And very excited with our relationship and how we're going to build this out in the future. So definitely, to anybody who's watching, stay tuned, because there's only more to come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Damian, and everybody have a wonderful day, guys.
Have a good day.